Hello my friends, it's Rex here with another NieR lore video, but I guess you already knew that from the title. So everyone likes DLC, right? What's that? You prefer if they include all the content in the base game? Well, too bad. The World of the Recycled Vessel is a piece of downloadable content for NieR Gestalt and Replicant, which was mainly a sort of challenge mode focused on clearing 15 maps with difficult enemies. This DLC wasn't exactly, well, popular. Why? Well, before Platinum Games got their hands on the series with Automata, the combat in the prior PlayStation 2 and 3 Drakengard and NieR games was bad. And I say this as a turbo nerd who loves his Yoko Taro games. The combat was slow, clunky, and imprecise. If you want a sense of what it was like, then turn on Replicant, turn your sensitivity all the way down, invert your controls, and put on some thick rubber gloves. So, people played NieR for the story, and surely there isn't that much of it in a challenge mode. As you progress through the challenges, you'll unlock entries in the diary of NieR's mother or wife, depending on which version. Since Replicant is fresher and more well-known these days, I'll go with that version from here. In the diary, we find out that NieR's mother also died of the Black Scroll, the same disease afflicting Yona. The entries in the diary reveal that their mother knows a strangely large amount about the truth of the world. Not all passages seem particularly relevant, so let's look at some that seem especially poignant. Soldier of Salt calling forth white death. He is Legion, the man who plunged the world into darkness. The dragon's corpse brought death to the world, delivering unto it the power of the devil. Let's go line by line. I've mentioned a lot of these points before, but let's recap. Something called White Chlorination Syndrome started when the protagonist of Drakengard, Kaim, and his dragon Angelus came to this world through a portal, and defeated an enemy called the Queen Beast, which spread magic particles called Maso into the air. The syndrome is not actually a disease, but the work of a god, and after appearing before this god, you would either turn into salt or become a mindless killing machine. These mindless drones were known as the Legion, and the soldier who plunged the world into darkness is probably referring to the Legion's leader, Red Eye, who engaged in a long and bloody battle with humanity. The dragon's corpse certainly refers to Angelus, which was recovered mostly intact and was studied by humans. The line about death is straightforward enough, but what about the power of the devil? This actually gives me a chance to talk about a nugget of NieR lore I haven't had much opportunity to explore until now. When attacked by the Legion, the governments of the world weren't going to sit by and be destroyed, were they? In 2016, an international organization called the Hamelin Organization was created to find a way to fight the Legion. And they did this by, as I mentioned, studying the dragon's body and researching the magical particles within. With these studies, they created a drug called luciferase, which caused those who took it to resist White Chlorination Syndrome. However, as the name suggests, it was indeed devilish. The drug was more effective on young children, so it was obvious what was coming next. They were true to their namesake, the Pied Piper of Hamelin, who, if you're familiar with the most common version of the folktale, took away the villagers' children and sent them to their deaths. And so it was with the organization, as they resorted to kidnapping suitable children and turning them into magical super soldiers, and then sent them to fight the Endless Legion. The Black Sickness stains the future. They journey to return to soulless vessels. This pretty unambiguously refers to Gestalts, Replicants, and the phenomenon of the Gestalt relapse. The next step humanity took after the Luciferase project was Project Gestalt, in which people's souls were removed from their bodies, the soul entities being the Gestalts and clone bodies, or Replicants, that were resistant to White Chlorination Syndrome were produced. The plan was to have the Gestalts take over the allegedly soulless Replicant bodies when it was safe. The problem was that the Replicants became sentient and the Gestalts could not return. The Gestalts would eventually lose sentience in what is called a relapse, which would kill the corresponding replicant as well. This is the Black Scrawl. Incidentally, this isn't directly related to the diary, but I feel is important to understanding Mosso, White Chlorination Syndrome, and Gestalts. But the Black Scrawl is written in the Celestial alphabet from Drakengard. Unlike Chaos language in NieR, which is just kind of cool sounding gibberish, the Celestial alphabet is a real language. Kind of. It was created by Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa, a real-world theologian and occult writer who claimed the language could be used to communicate with angels. So, a language used to communicate with higher beings. So, perhaps some more Watchers shenanigans? Or maybe whatever god is causing the white chlorination? Most likely another Drakengard deep dive is needed to work this one out. So if any of you have some thoughts and theories, comment below. Team effort and all. The apocalypse divided the world in two. One that knows not day, and one which has never seen the night. So at some point between Kaim's arrival and the start of NieR, the planet stopped rotating. Which let's just ignore how much this would mess up, like, everything in nature, like anything that photosynthesizes, or the tides, or water cycles, really weather in general. Anyway, the replicants likely refer to the world that has never seen night, since they were all born in perpetual day. And the shades are the ones that don't know day due to their preference to stay out of direct sunlight. As long as this memory exists, as long as mankind has hope, a bloody battle will be waged over the holy domain of the body. This one seems to refer to Gestalts and Replicants once again, specifically regarding the Shadow Lord, who was the first donor to Project Gestalt, and as long as he lives, there is still a possibility of all Gestalts returning to their bodies. There are a few more diary entries, but they mostly just talk about the vessels, which at this point I think you know what she's referring to. So now the obvious question, how did Mama NieR know all this stuff? All this knowledge is about things that happened about 3,000 years before the events of the game, and were heavily guarded secrets. Alright, time for some conspiracy theory Wumble level nerd lore scraping. If you view the recycled vessel DLC in the Xbox 360 file browser, it calls it the 15 Nightmares. It's never called this in the actual game or credits, only here. 15 Nightmares could refer to the 15 levels you fight in, but also the 15 passages in the diary, indicating that each was a nightmare she had, most likely while going through the Gestalt relapse that eventually killed her. As the mother of NieR, who's the replicant of the Shadow Lord, her Gestalt possibly would have been aware of this information. Could some memory sharing have occurred during the relapse? This seems consistent with Yona's experience with her Gestalt, so I think this is a solid possibility. Anyhow, I've squeezed this lore stone enough that the blood is probably coming from my hand at this point, so I'll wrap it up here, short as it might be. As always, if you got this far, I hope you'll leave a like and subscribe. It might not seem like much, but every engagement from you guys puts me that much closer to doing content creation full time, so I really can't overstate my appreciation. Have a fantastic day, all. Peace.